Hey, baby. I'm so proud of you for taking this step. And I understand why you wanted to talk to her alone. I know there are some things it's just easier to say when you're not worried about what anyone will think. Though I hope you know that I wouldn't think differently of you, no matter what. What did the therapist have to say? Baby? Talk to me, please. Uh-huh. And? So, what did she recommend? Oh, baby, please don't cry. Shh, I've got you. I've got you. I know you're scared, but it'll be okay. It's your decision whether to go into the hospital or not. So, you don't have to be afraid, okay? It's not a bad thing, baby. It's just... maybe it's the best place for you right now. Yes, of course I'll visit as much as you want, as often as they'll let me. Oh, no, it doesn't mean you're crazy. It just means you need a little help right now. Baby, did I ever tell you about my friend Matt? Well, we met when he was a regular at a coffee place I worked at. When it was slow, we would talk about video games, and one time he invited me over to play a new game with him, and we started hanging out sometimes. We weren't super close, but he was brilliant and funny and great to talk to. But Matt also had severe depressive episodes. And one time, I noticed he hadn't been around in a while, and I found out he was in the hospital. He tried to kill himself, but called 911 when he realized he wasn't ready to die. So he spent a few weeks in the hospital in the psych ward. The next time we hung out, it was kinda awkward, but Matt's sense of humor was the same as ever, and he joked about it, and soon it was like normal again. He told me this wasn't the first time this had happened. In his case, Matt didn't do well on medication, which is pretty unusual these days. Most people can find something that works for them, but they had a hard time finding something that worked for Matt. They would find something that worked for a while, and it would lose its effectiveness over time, or he'd develop problems with side effects, and anyway. That was the second time he'd been in the hospital. I asked him what it was like in there. You know what he told me? That it was a huge relief. He said that even in the first hospital he stayed at, which wasn't super great, at least it gave him space to work on his problems without having to pretend everything was okay, without having to deal with anything other than getting better. He was surrounded by people who were making sure he would be okay physically. And at the second hospital, he felt like he really got some good therapy. They had group therapy every day, and he also met with someone privately a few times. He said there were a couple of people there who were pretty disturbed, but he didn't really have to interact with them much. Mostly, he was with people who were in a similar situation to his. Pretty normal people having personal problems that got to be too much for them to handle on their own. Does that sound familiar to you? Anyway, a year goes by and Matt has another bad episode. I can tell something is wrong, and we talked. Even though we weren't super close, he didn't have a lot of friends in the area, and he said that he thought he needed to go to the hospital again. because he had been having suicidal thoughts again. But he was afraid, and he was so depressed, and he wasn't thinking very clearly. And I was so glad he told me, because he was a great guy, and of course I didn't want him to kill himself. Even though he knew it was what he needed at the time, he was still nervous. Because it is kind of scary to check yourself into a hospital, you know? No matter what you're going there for, you know it's serious. And this was serious. So, I offered to go with him. I sat with him through the paperwork, and then they did a physical exam, and he had to tell a lot of people that he was thinking of killing himself, which he said was probably the worst part. Something about saying it out loud to total strangers, it was pretty hard for him. I think that might be hard for anyone. And finally, they decided to admit him as a voluntary admission, which was good because it meant that he could sign himself out any time if he wanted to. If they do what's called a 72-hour hold, that means that for 72 hours you are stuck there. You don't have a choice. That's usually for people who are in danger of harming themselves or others. He felt like it was better to do it voluntarily. His first time wasn't voluntary, and the idea that he couldn't leave was hard for him, even though he wasn't planning to leave anyway. It was just the idea of it felt sort of powerless. I guess there are also some rules with insurance companies about whether you have to pay more if you sign yourself out before the doctors say you're ready. We should probably talk to your insurance company, by the way, so we know what we're dealing with. Anyway, once they found him a bed, which I guess takes a while sometimes, and sometimes they have to send you to a different hospital if they don't have a room. Anyway, it took forever, but then they sent him up there, took any of his personal possessions that could be dangerous to him, or if someone else got them, like sharp objects, his belt, that kind of stuff. They have to hang on to those. Anyway, I went to see him a couple times. He was only there a week until he started to feel like he was stable. And then he went home and did therapy like twice a week or something for a while. No, it wasn't weird, really. It's basically just like visiting anyone in the hospital. It's not fun because the person you're seeing is not feeling well, you know? But aside from having to go in through a locked door and making sure I didn't have anything with me that I shouldn't, it was just another hospital ward. He had a roommate, and there was a day room with a TV, and people were sitting around playing cards and stuff. Some people were wearing their regular clothes even. But the main thing was, Matt was safe there, until he was feeling ready to be safe on his own again. And he had people who could make sure he remembered to take his medication, and remembered to eat, got enough sleep, and watch him for side effects, and there was someone he could talk to, someone trained to help all the time whenever he needed, pretty much. I think it was good for him. And I think it might be good for you too, babe. I don't think the therapist would have suggested it if she didn't think you needed 24-hour-a-day support for a while. And while you know I'm happy to be there for you 24/7, you also know there's stuff they can do that I can't. How long did she say she thought you might need to stay? A week isn't long. I'm at work most of the time during the week anyway. I'll come see you after work every day, if you want. Sometimes it's easier to not see anyone. I can stay away sometimes if you need some space, too. It will fly by quickly, love. And you'll be so much better after. I know it won't be easy, but if you can do some of the hardest work in therapy while you have the support you need and no other worries, then I think it will be really good for you. You'll still have hard work to do once you come home, but I'll be there for that. As much as I can, baby. Did any of that help you, love? Are you feeling better about this? So, what did you decide to do? Okay, baby. Yes, I do really think that it's a good thing. I'm really proud of you. It takes a lot of courage to do this. I'm glad that you're going to keep fighting instead of giving up. I'm so relieved that you want to take care of yourself. I'm not going anywhere. Shh. No, baby. It's okay to cry. It's okay to be scared, but what you're doing is really brave. Baby, when I found that suicide note, I was so scared. So afraid of losing you. If this means you don't have to feel like that anymore, it'll be so worth it. Here, let me wipe those tears away, baby. Do you want to go home? Pick up a few things? Your toothbrush, a change of clothes, maybe Cardi Bear? Okay. We can do that. While you do that, I'll call the insurance company. Then, we'll go to the hospital and get things started, okay? Okay, love. What happened to my friend? Well, we lost touch. He moved away and was in a new place on the East Coast. He didn't really know anyone there, and he had another bad episode. But this time, he didn't have anyone to talk to convince him going to the hospital was a good idea, so yeah. So now you know why I think this is important. I can't imagine losing you. Especially when there's still something I can do to help, you know? I couldn't help Matt, but I can help you. I mean, I wouldn't compare him to you. He had medical issues that made his depression really hard to treat. So he did have bad relapses. Most people don't end up in the hospital over and over. But even if you do, I'm not going anywhere. Going to the hospital doesn't mean you're crazy or damaged or anything except that you need help right now. You're the love of my life, baby. Of course I want what's best for you. I want you to be safe, and I want you to be happy again. Yes, I do believe that's possible. It's just around the corner. You just have to hang in there, do the work, and the happiness will come. Okay, baby. Let's go home and get your things, alright? It's gonna be okay. I promise.